Thousands of people give this advice. On forums, in comment sections, even at some pet stores, everyone is saying the same thing. Everyone is confident. And everyone following this advice is slowly killing their fish. Today, we're breaking down the 7 most widely shared fish keeping tips on the internet, and every single one of them is a lie. But the most dangerous one is the most innocent looking, and it's first on the list. Let's get into it. You just set up a new aquarium. The water is clear, the filter is running, the heater is set, and you can't hold yourself back. Let me just throw a fish in. If that feeling sounds familiar, here's what you need to know. You just triggered the most common cause of fish death, because water looking clear does not mean it's clean. There's nothing inside that tank yet. No beneficial bacteria, no established balance, no system to process the fish's waste. The moment you add the fish, it starts producing waste. That waste converts to ammonia, and ammonia is direct poison to fish. Under normal circumstances, bacteria would neutralize that poison. But building those bacteria takes 2 to 3 weeks. You added the fish on day 1, so the fish is swimming in its own toxin. The first few days, nothing seems wrong. The fish is active, eating well, which is exactly why nobody suspects a thing. But a week later, movements start slowing. The gills are working faster, and one morning, the fish is gone. Why did it die, you ask? The answer is simple. You never created an environment that could sustain life. You just filled a container with water. So why are the people giving this advice so sure of themselves? Because they made the same mistake. The fish died, and they never learned why. And this is just the first misconception on the list. The second one is older and far more deeply rooted. Everyone has the same image in their head. A small round fishbowl, an orange goldfish inside, happy, peaceful. This image may be the most widespread fish-keeping myth in history. Goldfish are a species that can grow up to 12 inches in the wild. When kept in a small bowl, their growth doesn't stop. Their organs just run out of room. The heart, liver, and kidneys keep trying to reach their full size, but there's nowhere for them to go. The result? Chronic organ failure. The fish may look small and healthy on the outside, but inside, a slow collapse is underway. A bowl is also a disaster for oxygen exchange. The water surface is tiny. Gas exchange is nearly non-existent, and without filtration, waste accumulates at alarming speed. This is why goldfish kept in bowls have an average lifespan of a few months. A goldfish kept with proper care can live over 10 years. The difference isn't a bowl versus a tank, it's neglect versus actual care. So why does this image still have such a hold? Because it's decorative and aesthetic. It was designed for the human eye, not for the fish's needs. Up next is a piece of advice everyone assumes is good practice, and it leads to exactly the opposite of what it's meant to do. Cleanliness is good, right? Cleaner filter, healthier tank. Makes sense. But there's a hidden disaster in this one. The filter's job isn't just to strain out physical debris. The filter sponge and media are home to millions of beneficial bacteria. These bacteria convert ammonia first into nitrite, then into the far less toxic nitrate. When you rinse the filter media under tap water, chlorinated water, you kill that bacterial colony instantly. The tank resets to 0 overnight, and it's invisible. The water still looks clear, but the nitrogen cycle has collapsed. Within a few days, ammonia climbs, the fish get stressed, and some start getting sick. So, what's the right approach? Gently swish the filter media in aquarium water only. Never let it touch chlorinated water. This seems like a small detail, but it determines the entire stability of the tank. These first 3 pieces of advice are already dangerous enough. So why is the 4th one even more insidious? Because this time, the culprit is love. Your fish is sitting still. You think it's bored, and someone suggests, put a mirror in front of it. Let it look at itself. Give it something to do. Sounds harmless. The result is the opposite. Because a fish is not a parakeet. The fish doesn't recognize its reflection as itself. It sees a rival, and in territorial species, especially bettas, this immediately registers as a threat. The fish locks into attack posture against the mirror, flares its fins, deepens its color, maintains an aggressive stance at the same spot for hours. This isn't play. This is a constant state of combat alert, and chronic stress destroys the immune system. That mirror you put in place to entertain the fish becomes a stress source that slowly wears it down. So what should you actually do if a fish is genuinely inactive? The answer is not a mirror. Check the water parameters, add a hiding spot, or consider whether it needs a compatible companion species. But the most popular, most widely shared piece of advice on this entire list still hasn't come up yet, and it lives right there in the food container. The fish looks like it wants food. It's coming up to the surface, opening its mouth, and you throw in extra food because you don't want it going hungry. But here's a truth worth knowing. Fish eat by instinct, whatever is put in front of them. They don't signal fullness as clearly as humans do. Overfeeding kills the tank in two ways. First, uneaten food sinks to the bottom, decomposes, and produces ammonia, the same poison, entering through a different door. Second, if the fish actually eats all of it, it produces excessive waste. The digestive system gets overworked. Bloating and swim bladder problems follow. So the formula more food, healthier fish actually becomes more food, dirtier water, sicker fish. The right approach. Feed only what the fish can finish in 2 to 3 minutes, once or twice a day. Anything beyond that always backfires. That's 6 pieces of advice debunked. But the most dangerous recommendation on the internet still hasn't arrived, because this time, the culprit is accurate information, used wrong. You go to the pet store. You ask, is this species compatible with that one? The answer, yes, compatible. And that answer usually isn't wrong, but it is incomplete, because compatibility isn't a fixed label. It's a balance that shifts depending on numbers, tank size, breeding season, and individual personality. Example, tiger barbs kept in a group of 3 to 5 are aggressive. In a group of 8 or more, they're calm. Same species, same compatible label, completely different outcome. Or, a pair of cichlids lives peacefully for months. The moment they shift into breeding mode, they attack every other fish in the tank. The compatible label is still there, but the reality has changed entirely. This is why "are they compatible" is the wrong question. The right question is, under which conditions are they compatible, and under which conditions are they not? So why is this misinformation still this powerful, still this widespread? The answer is buried in human behavior. A piece of advice gets written once, then it gets copied, then copied again. Nobody questions the source because everyone is saying the same thing. And everyone is saying the same thing automatically generates a sense of trust in the brain. On top of that, most of this advice appears to work in the short term. The fish doesn't die immediately. The damage can take weeks or months to surface. And by then, nobody connects it back to the advice. This is why misinformation spreads faster than accurate information. Because accurate information requires a little patience, a little research. Misinformation is one sentence, easy and memorable. But now, whenever you hear any of these 7 pieces of advice, you know the real mechanism behind them. Thousands of people were giving this advice. And before this video, maybe you were following some of it yourself. Not out of bad intentions, because everyone said so. But now you know. Clear water doesn't mean clean water. A small bowl isn't love. Lots of food doesn't mean good health. So here's the question. How many of these 7 pieces of advice are still being applied in your tank right now? Write it in the comments. Let's work through it together. In the next video, we're going to talk about the exact opposite of all this misinformation. The techniques that actually work. The ones the internet never talks about. If you don't want to miss it, you know what to do. See you under the water.